All right, so I think we'll get started now. I am all set on my end. So today we are talking about the HASS requirements, so the HASS requirement worksheet. This is, of course, part of your required SAM meeting, and the HASS worksheet is a required material for that SAM meeting. So to begin, we're going to be on the SOE Hub website, as I shared the link in the chat for. And if we scroll down, there's tons of resources on here that are really helpful. You'll find meeting your academic advisor, connecting with the hub, academic resources and support. You'll find the link to book a meeting, which of course we know we have to do for the SAM. And then here's the academic resources and support where we're going to be spending our time right now. And here you'll see the 4-year plan template. Here is information about the SAM meeting. Here are the HASS requirements, and then here's the general advising handbooks for each department. So as mentioned, we're going to start by clicking on the SOE Hub HASS requirements guide. So as we scroll through, this probably looks a little bit familiar because we used a lot of these resources for the summer as we were teaching you about the HASS requirements. So you can certainly come here and watch these videos on your own time. But today we're going to grab the HASS worksheet right from the resource. And here it is. So we're going to download this file, open it right up in Adobe. Actually, I'm going to open it a different way because I don't like working with it on my browser. And here is our worksheet. So I'm going to zoom out really quickly so we can see it's 2 pages. So this is what you're going to want to bring to your SAM meeting. Definitely email it to your advisor once you fill out. And of course, knowing that it can be changed in the future. If you change your mind about HASS is obviously fine. But I'm going to zoom back in so we can go over the material. So for HASS, you have to take 20 credits of HASS. So if you think about your curriculum, there's different bubbles within it. So HASS Core is one of the bubbles. It's a 20 credit bubble that you have to fulfill, where those 20 credits go specifically towards the HASS Core and meeting the requirements within. Another great example is your math and science core. So, there are those courses that everyone has to take, like Calculus 1, Calculus 2, physics, science elective, whether it's bio or chemistry. And all of these together form your graduation requirements, and they form your curriculum. So for the HASS core, you have 20 credit hours, or it typically breaks down to 5 classes, but there are exceptions to that. HASS stands for Humanities, Arts, and Social Science courses, and these are all the HASS prefix. So if you're ever wondering what is a HASS course exactly, you can use the HASS worksheet and it tells you. We have arts, communication, language, which at RPI is Chinese, literature, the games, simulation and arts, interdisciplinary HASS, philosophy, science, tech, and society, writing courses, cognitive science courses, econ courses, and psychology. Often confused, but management is not a HASS course. And a really easy way to think about it is that at RPI, there is a school of humanities. So it, pretty much based in Sage. And then there's a school of management, which is the Lally School of Business, which is located in a totally different building down over the hill. So you cannot take any management courses to have them fulfill your HASS requirements. So that's really important to keep in mind. What are the HASS core requirements? So of course we're going to go over this in detail today to make sure that you feel really confident about your HASS requirements. But again, it's 20 credits of HASS, which typically break down to 5 courses. The exception, of course, that I mentioned is if you are transferring HASS courses in and say they come in at 3 credits or 2 credits, you might need to be looking at a PD2 alternative, which I'll talk about later. But transfer credits always complicate the issue no matter what you're doing. The requirements, simply summarized, are a HASS inquiry course, a communication intensive course, your integrative pathway, which is 12 credits, and then a 4,000 level HASS course. So You may take a class that fulfills several of the requirements at once, so that's where we go back to, even if that happens, you still, at the end of the day, have to take 20 credits of HASS. So that's where this worksheet becomes really, really helpful. So step one is, of course, we're going to outline our plans. So if you have the worksheet with you, now is a great time to think about filling it out as we go through it. Or, of course, pull out a notebook and a pen and just kind of write down, based on what you've accomplished so far. Again, if you've brought in any AP credits or transfer credits, all that kind of information as we go through. So the first requirement that I'm sure all of you are familiar with is, of course, the HASS inquiry course. So the HASS inquiry course must be taken within the first 2 semesters of college. Typically, it is the IHSS, which is the interdisciplinary HASS. What's important to note about the interdisciplinary HASS course is that it is restricted to first-year students, which means once you complete the spring semester, you can no longer choose the interdisciplinary HASS courses. Examples of this are Minds and Machines, the Genome and You, Well-Being. All of those courses at the completion of the spring semester are going to be reserved for the next incoming course, so the class of 2027. You can take, there's exceptions to all rules. There's IHS 1200, which is the econ course, and they have made the exception in this because econ is quite popular, and also it is cross-listed as econ 1200. And then this is not an interdisciplinary HASS course, but it is a HASS inquiry course. So if you have taken either of these 2 courses, you absolutely have fulfilled your HASS inquiry. And you can see, in a moment, I will show you how you can see if a course is considered HASS inquiry. The HASS inquiry course may fulfill your first HASS or pathway course and your communication intensive. You cannot pass no credit your HASS inquiry course if you intend to use it as part of your pathway, or if it is your CI course, your communication intensive course. And you absolutely can take more than one HASS inquiry course. You do not need to be limited. If you want to look at HASS inquiry courses, we have links right on this guide that will walk you through them, including a link right here to the integrative pathways, but we have that listed later on the worksheet. Oop, get rid of that. We also have our trusty catalog that we can go to find out more about courses as well. So for example, the popular Intro to Econ, if I type that course in up here, we can click on it, and we can gauge more information about the course. Okay, so step 1 for the worksheet is put in your HASS inquiry course. So as an example today, I am going to fill this out as we go through it. So I'm going to put in, for my example, I'm actually going to do STSO 1110 as my HASS inquiry course. So like I said, you simply type that in. And then, because we've completed that, you're more than welcome to check off that box to signify that you have done what you need to do in this area. So that is our first requirement. That is the first part of our HASS that we need to complete. The second one that we're going to talk about is that integrated pathway. So the pathway is a series of typically 3 courses, 12 credits, likely beginning with a HASS inquiry course, but as mentioned, not necessarily. It might begin with something else. For example, there are HASS pathways that begin with the STSO 1110. You will declare your HASS pathway in SIS, and this is actually a requirement for the SAM meeting. This is something that you will do independently. You'll log into your SIS account and you'll choose your pathway. I'll show you where those pathways are in a moment. No course within the sequence may be taken as a pass no credit. And a good amount of pathways have the option of becoming a HASS minor with 1 additional choice or course. And I'm actually going to show you an example of this again using econ. So to find the programs, again, we're going to the catalog. We're going to scroll down to programs. About halfway down the programs page, we're going to see our integrative pathways, and everything below that bolded title is considered a integrative pathway. So these are all of your options for pathways. So there are a lot, which is why it's very hard for us as advisors to give recommendations. This is a completely personal choice. It might be based on what your major is and finding something connected. It might be based on, where you see yourself in your career, which is why a lot of students choose economics, or it could be what do you actually love to do and what do you want to make sure you carve out time doing while you're at RPI. So that could be art, it could be music, it could be well-being or philosophy. But as mentioned, I'm going to be using econ as our example. So I'm going to click on econ here, and this is the outline of what the economics pathway looks like. So to begin, we have to choose one of the following. So we are going to choose IHSS Principles of Economics, but you can see, as I mentioned, that there is a cross-listed, which is Econ 1200. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add that to my, oh, it's not filling out exactly the way I want to, but it doesn't matter. So first I'm going to write in, oh, hold on. There we go. All right, so I'm going to write in that my pathway is economics, and I'm just going to do the general economics. Economics. Struggling this morning. So my first course is going to be the IHSS 1200. That's the one I'm taking for my pathway. For a second course, we'll absolutely want to come back to the listing to see what's next. So it says choose one of the following. So any 2000 level econ elective or intermediate microeconomic or intermediate macroeconomic. I'm going to choose econ 2010 or intermediate microeconomic theory, and I'm going to do this for a good reason that I'll talk about in a moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw that in here as my second pathway course. So I've completed 8 credits of my 12 needed credits. And then for the final course, it says choose your remaining credits from any 4000 level econ course. So very simply, if I'm not really sure what I want to do with that yet, it is completely appropriate to write econ 4000 level as my completed pathway, so that I know in the future when I have that HASS elective that I need to make a choice about, I can just search for any econ 4000 level course, because that is what it says I can do in this pathway. So it keeps it nice and simple. As I mentioned, I intentionally chose this econ course as part of my pathway, and that is because if you look at the bottom, you'll see that there is actually an economics minor associated with this pathway. So if a pathway has a minor, you will always find it at the bottom. And what I recommend doing before you make big decisions about what courses you want to select for your pathway, check out what the minors look like, because typically they make it really easy to get a HASS minor. It is done intentionally to make it more accessible to all students to walk away with a minor from RPI, which is a good thing. So as you can see, the economics minor requires either the IHSS 1200 or the Econ 1200. So we chose the IHSS 1200. Right here, it requires the intermediate microeconomic theory, so the 2010, which is exactly why I chose it for my pathway. So to remind you, I put that in right there. And then to complete my minor, I have to fulfill a total of 16 credits. So 16 credits breaks down to 4 classes. So any 2000 level economics course or any 4000 level economics course. So this will be important in a moment. I will get to it. I just wanted to walk through the minor. But you can see that, again, we have a wide open option for the minor. We have a wide open option for the pathway. So this is exactly what I'm going to put in for now. If you want to do a little bit more digging on what options there are for Econ 2000 level and 4000 level courses, there's a really simple solution for it. And let me see, we come back here, and before we scroll down to get to programs so that we can see all the integrated pathways, now we're going to click on courses. You can see all the prefix here. We can click on econ pretty simply. And if we scroll, we will see all the 2000 and all the 4000 level economics courses that are available to you. Anything at a 6000 level is a graduate level course, so you're going to want to stop at the last 4000 and choose from these options. And as you look at them, you might immediately go, oh, you know what? There's a couple in here that I would be interested in taking. You could write that in, or you could just make another note to yourself, typing in what you want to do. Totally up to you how you want to organize those thoughts. But that's how you can find those advanced econ courses. So, um, let's say I have taken STSO 1110 in my fall semester. I've taken IHSS 1200 in my spring semester. So obviously I still need to take Econ 2010 and my 4000 level course to fulfill the pathway. So I can't check off this box, but I'm on my way to meeting these requirements. All right, so that's the pathway. The next requirement that we want to talk about is our communication intensive requirement. So the communication intensive requirement is something that should be completed within the first 3 semesters, as you can see here. The reason why it is recommended to complete in the first 3 semesters is actually because of graduate or seniors who graduate and the feedback that they provided to RPI, which is many of them would end up saving their communication intensive course until their senior year, and they realized that that information would have been really helpful to have earlier to use in their advanced courses. So the writing, communication, the presentation skills. So that's why this change was made, to have that earlier in your curriculum. Personally, I think it's a great thing. I think it is seriously helpful to have these courses early in your time at RPI. But of course, in reality, sometimes it just doesn't fit. This is something I would encourage you to work with your SOE Hub advisor on to see, if you haven't done it yet, and it didn't work this spring, what's the earliest we can get it in and what can we target based on your pathway. But to go through the communication intensive requirement, you only need to take one HASS course that is designated as communication intensive. There is a second communication intensive requirement as an engineer, but it is just going to happen as you go through your curriculum, so it is nothing you have to keep an eye on. It will just happen organically. HASS you have to choose and you have to register for. Communication intensive courses generally require writing papers and or doing presentations. And don't forget that we have a resource in the library that is called Com+D. And Com+D is there to help you with exactly this. So if you are nervous about writing papers or presentations, English is your second language, there is a resource in the library that can help you with all of this. And they're great people, they take appointments, all of that. Many of the IHSS and HASS inquiry courses are communication intensive, but not all of them. So it's really important that you pay attention when you're looking for the communication intensive, and it is going to attributes in the class search in SIS to see what a course is designated as. Sometimes that information, actually you will see that information in QUACS as well, which is useful. It's right in the descriptor of a particular course. You cannot pass no credit your communication intensive course. Your communication intensive course must be taken at Rensselaer. So even if you take a writing course at another institution, you can't use that for your CI course here. Here are communication intensive options. So if you come to academic planning, you will see communication intensive requirement. And every year the registrar's office will put in what communication intensive courses are offered in the spring. So if you can't find attributes on class search, which I really, really hope you can, because it's important that you find that. If you're not using QUACS, there is a third way to find the communication intensive courses. So we'll get rid of that. Oh, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay, got a lot of things going on. All right. And as mentioned, find other CI courses by using class search and viewing attributes column in the search results. So I already know the STSS 1110 is actually a communication intensive course. So, because I took this in the fall semester, I've met this requirement. I'm all set. I don't need to worry about this one anymore. I am done, which is gotta be a great feeling, right? All right, the final requirement that we're going to talk about is actually going to be our 4,000 level HASS course. So you do have a requirement to take a 4,000 level HASS course. As you can see by the example pathway, it is very, very likely that your 4,000 course will be part of your pathway, and that's perfectly fine. There's likely to be overlap between your requirements. So if that's the case, it's really easy to just come down here, put in that I'm going to be taking one of my 4,000 level HASS requirements for my pathway, and that will take care of this requirement when I get to it. Likely junior, senior year, you're going to be taking this course. So sorry. So these are the HASS requirements. So these are the requirements within that 20 credits. So at the end of this, what we want to do is we want to make sure that even though I filled this out and it makes sense and I'm on target, do I actually have enough courses here to meet the 20 credit requirement? So that's where this step 2 comes into play, writing your 5 HASS courses below. So we know that in this fall semester, I took STSO 1110, so I am all set there. We know this spring I'm taking econ, so I'll put that there. Based on my pathway, I'm going to be taking econ 2010 and an econ 4000 level. So we have econ 2010, econ 4000 level. And then if we scroll through, we're realizing that we've already accounted for that. We've already accounted for this. We've already accounted for our pathway, and there are still 5 credits that we need to meet for the HASS course. So it does mean our plan is not done. We still need one more course. So this goes back to earlier when we were talking about minors that are associated with the pathways. So I know I X'd out of a lot of stuff, but it's because I had too much going on. So I'm going to go back to the integrative pathways real quick. So integrated pathways, we're going to click on econ. We're going to click on this minor, and this is where we're going to find our 5th course, our final class that we need to meet our HASS requirements, and we're also going to get a minor out of our HASS requirements. So as a reminder, it could be any 2,000 level or any 4,000 level economics course. So I'm just going to write that in here, econ 2,000 level or 4,000 level course. And that is going to complete the 20 credits that I need in order to graduate. It's going to complete my communication intensive and my HASS inquiry. It's going to complete my pathway with these 3 classes. It's going to complete my 4,000 level, and it's going to complete a minor in the mix. So with all of that being said, that is how you go through the worksheet and fill it out for yourself. You know, I'm going to cover some more important notes in just a second, but I will say that if you've been writing this down as we've been going along, please feel free to use WebEx Wednesday today to meet with your academic advisor if you think you have more questions about it as it pertains to you as an individual. I'll be posting that link in a moment too. But before we move on, first things first, important notes. So these are things about the requirements. So not paying attention to these could delay your graduation, so they are important to read. So the first one is you can only take 3 courses at a 1,000 level or 12 credits at a 1,000 level. So as you can see in my plan above, I have 1,000 level, 2 1,000 level, and then I'm good. This is something that you'll want to pay attention to if you've brought in transfer credits. You know, in that case, maybe you brought in a couple AP credits, which are always at a 2,000 or at a 1,000 level. So in this case, maybe I could choose one of them to apply towards my HASS requirements. I would knock off this course here, but I couldn't apply any more than just the one to my requirements. Pass no credit. You can only pass no credit up to 8 of your HASS requirements. And as a reminder, you cannot pass no credit your HASS inquiry course or your HASS communication intensive course. So there is flexibility with the 4,000 level, you know, or Oh wait, you can pass no credit the Haas inquiry. I meant to say integrated pathway. So just read the notes and it'll walk you through it and you can reach out to your advisor. And then the final note is you cannot transfer more than 8 credits towards your Haas core. So if you are someone who brought in transfer credits, AP credits, 2 of them could be applied, or 8 credits could be applied to this line above, and the rest of them could be applied to free electives if you have more than that. Um, and then, as a final note, as an engineer, you do have a professional development requirement. This is a series of 3 courses, or it actually breaks down to 4 credits. And one of those courses is actually a HASS course. So you can see it here. It's STSO 4100. You've probably seen it on your 4-year plan as you've worked through your 4-year plan. What's really important to know is that this is not technically part of the HASS core. So sometimes students will see when they're looking in class search the language of a PD2 alternative option. Um, and there's this thought that they can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. That is not the case. In most situations, like 99% of the time, all you're going to want to do is take this STO 4100 course. There is no trick to this, just take the 2-credit course, because if you do take that 4-credit course, 2 credits will go towards your PD2 requirement, but only 2 credits will go towards your HASS requirement. And again, you need 20 credits to graduate. So in theory, you would be 2 credits short for graduating. That's going into the weeds, but basically what I want you to understand about this block is that the professional development requirement is part of your curriculum. It's a graduation requirement. And this is the course you should take 9 times out of 10. So if you don't want to go into the weeds with it, just take STSO 4100. All right, so that is going through the worksheet. And I wanted, not totally done yet, but I want to make sure that I have gone through. Yes. Okay, actually, I have gone over everything I wanted to go over today. So now is a great time for any questions that you might have. I do see that there's one question in the chat. Feel free to throw questions in the chat. You can unmute your mic if you have a quick question that you want to address. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm gonna post a couple helpful links in here while I answer the question. And the question is, how do you declare a minor? So I'm actually gonna go back to here and share my screen again. And if you keep scrolling in this HASS requirements resource where we initially started talking today, where we have the HASS worksheet, right here, if you are interested in HASS minors, degrees, or duals, you're going to want to connect with the HASS Hub. And that link takes you right to their landing page. You can make an appointment, you can send them an email. Declaring a HASS minor, like I said, they made it really easy to get a HASS minor. Declaring a HASS minor is really not something you should worry about officially doing until about your junior year. The form that you fill out is a paper form. It has to be approved by the HASS Hub and your advisor. But there's this little cheeky thing about it where you have to write down what semester you're going to take what HASS course or what minor course. So for example, say that we have a plan to take the Econ 2010 in our fall semester of our sophomore year. If I go to register for that course and it conflicts with one of my engineering courses, obviously I'm going to prioritize my engineering courses. I'm going to save that econ class for a later date. But the form said that I was going to take it at that time. They're going to make me fill out the form again. So that's why we say wait to do anything official. You don't get any special treatment by filling out the form. It doesn't beat the major restricted stuff in SIS during registration. So you'll just want to wait on that. And again, when you are ready to lay out a plan for your minor, so say you want to talk to somebody about what econ courses you could choose, you can come straight to the Hub website and have that conversation with one of the Hub advisors. They're just like us in engineering, but they advise to the HASS curriculum. All right, so back to sharing important links with you. I'm going to stop sharing. Does anyone have any other questions or thoughts about HASS? All right. So as I mentioned, if you were going through and filling this out based on you and you want to go over this with your hub advisor, I just posted a link for WebEx Wednesday today, so sign up when you're ready to meet. So if you don't have time right now, but you do have time this afternoon and you just want to wrap up everything about HASS, we will be here until noon today and then 1 to 4 p.m. this afternoon. Um, is there anything else, any other links I wanted to share with you guys? I don't think so. Um, yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to share. And so if there are no more questions, have a wonderful rest of your day. And as a last reminder, for your SAM meeting, you have to book a meeting. You have to show up with a thoughtful draft of your 4-year plan. You must come with this HASS worksheet, and you need to declare your pathway on SIS. So as a reminder, if you go to the SOE Hub website, there is a resource that has all of that laid out, including the templates and the worksheets, everything you need for it. We're definitely trying to help you with it. We've done 90% of the work for you. You just kind of have to put in that personal touch. But that's it. So have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine.